Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live. I would love for you to give me a hello in the chat if you can see and hear me. The last two lives that we've done, we've had to do twice. So I'm trying to make sure that we are fully online here. So give me a hello in the chat if you can hear me. It looks like we've got 3 people on. And I'm going to see if we are really live. Let's see what's going on. If we are really live. I think we're working. Okay, say hello if you can hear me. Otherwise, I have my coffee. And today we're going to be talking about feet and skiing. It's a conversation I have with a lot of clients, and I find that it's really eye-opening for a lot of people who have never even thought about what their feet are doing inside their ski boots before. So we are going to get right into it. We're going to start with how you actually use your feet when you're skiing. And we're going to get into a couple actionable things that you can do in the gym to get ready for day one on snow if you're gearing up for your season, and some things to check now to know if your feet might be negatively impacting you on snow. And if a little bit of, hey, I got a good morning. Hello, nice to chat with you. I can't believe we got live to work, you guys. It has been a struggle the last 2 weeks. So I'm so stoked that we're actually online. If you have any questions about feet and skiing, pop them in the chat and I'll be able to answer them right away. So let's start by talking about our feet and ankles and what they actually do while we're skiing. So there's 4 main things. And the first one is your feet are your connection to the snow. So we've got our skis, but attached to a whoop. Okay, we are really rocking. I have actually figured out how to do live. I'm so excited about this. Nice to see you guys. Nice to see you online. Thank you so much for tuning in. So our feet are our connection to the snow, right? We can tell what the snow conditions are like if we're in an icier patch because of the vibrations and the feedback we're getting through our feet. So the more of a connection we have and the more mobility we have through that foot unit, the more we're able to actually be in touch with the snow. Between that and the tips of our poles, that's the only way we're attached to the snow when we're skiing. So one thing, they are connection. And the second thing they are is balancers. A tiny move at the foot means you don't have to do a giant movement farther up the chain. And so when it comes to staying balanced in the ever-changing conditions that are the snowpack, those tiny moves in our feet, which we can do with tiny intrinsic muscles that live entirely inside the feet, mean that we don't have to do bigger things up the chain. The third thing that the foot and ankle does is everts and inverts to help us set our edges. And so whether that's a carved turn or a parallel turn, there's a fair bit of movement that happens, all the way from the foot up to the hip that allows us to evert and invert, but also steer. And so I actually want you guys, if you're sitting down, to do a little drill right now. I want you to hold on to your leg. Let's see if I can get in a place where you can see me just a little bit. I want you to hold on to the lower part of just below the knee and feel these muscles. Now I want you to try and turn your foot to the outside and inside. And just notice how some of that comes from just the foot. So the foot can move without these muscles moving, bones moving. And then these bones also move. And some of that rotation or steering comes from there. Some of it comes from within the knee. We do have a little bit of that coming from within the knee, not a crazy amount though. And then of course we have the femur moving in the hip socket. So anyways, edge setting comes from being able to move those feet. And then of course, as I just mentioned, steering comes from the foot as well. So, and all the way up the chain. So 4 reasons that even though we're putting a cast on the foot and ankle, we are using the foot and the ankle so much when we ski. So today we're going to get into the muscles of the foot, how to work on those and what they do. And we're going to first start by talking about the muscles that are outside of the foot and ankle, but act on it. kind of a neat thing to think about, right? It's not just, you don't just have a calf muscle. You actually have lots of other muscles in the lower leg that control the way the foot moves and works. So if you have any questions about your skiing in particular, drop them in the chat right now. Any questions about your feet in particular as well. I have a really cool group of people in our first cohort of the Ski Ready program, and I've been talking a lot about feet with them. I have a telemarker who we've been talking about gripping and eagle clawing. So we're going to talk about that today. I have someone who is getting a new pair of ski boots. And so we've been talking about how they're changing ankle mobility and foot mobility and strength is going to impact their purchase choices for their ski boots this year. So a lot of cool things coming from that group and program. But let's start by talking about the muscles that come from inside or outside the foot. Let's start with outside the foot. And the first one we're going to talk about is the peroneus longus. And it is one that everts the foot. So when you are doing a carving turn or when you have your edges tipped up, some of that tipping is coming from, and it starts with that foot everting and inverting. The easiest way to remember this is my inside leg when I'm skiing. I am inverting my foot. Inside ski, inverting. Outside foot, everting the foot. And if you just think about that right now, try and, when you're sitting, tip your skis on edge. I know I think about this too when I'm doing office work. Then on that everting side, so our outside ski, we are using a muscle that starts inside the kind of calf area and goes to the outside of the foot to help that action happen. And the neat thing that I actually just learned researching another video this fall is the wider your ski is, the more that muscle is active in the initiation phase of the turn, which is pretty cool to think about and may impact the widths of ski that you choose when you're on hard pack versus powder. So that muscle is acting. The other muscles that are acting and helping or hurting us skiing that act on the ankle and come from outside the ski boot have to do with the tibialis anterior. So our calf muscle, think of it as on the back. And if we use our calf muscle, we go onto our tiptoes. There's another muscle that helps pull our toes to our nose, so to speak. And there's a couple of them, but the main one is your tibialis anterior. Now, knowing the names is probably not important for everyone. I like to know them because, I don't know, it's fun to memorize muscle names. But the thing that I have actually worked with quite a few people using this muscle in the action of trying to get forward on your skis. Now, that's a hot topic when it comes to ski instruction because there's sort of a new way to think about it. Instead of us moving forward on skis, a lot of instructors or coaches will talk to skiers about, in the first part of the turn, pull your skis back behind you. Pop in the chat if you've heard it described that way to you. So instead of get your hips forward, they'll say pull your feet back behind you. And if you think about it, it's causing the same thing to happen. We are moving our center of mass forward to start the turn, but it's coming from pulling the feet back. And so that is your tibialis anterior helping close the joint angle. Now, the reason this is super important is because let's say you don't have a lot of length and strength. Oh, I love it. You started playing with this at the end of last season. That's great. Oh, it's going to be so fun when you're back on snow. You can start playing with it again. And you can see if a little bit of extra ankle mobility and tibialis anterior strength helps with that. So if we run out of ankle flexion, so I'm using my tibialis anterior, let's go, this is my foot, this is my lower leg. If I'm using my tibialis anterior, I'm pulling this joint closed. I need length here to be able to close the joint, right? And if I want to put pressure on the front of the ski, I need adequate flexion that I can press on the cuff of my boot. Now, where this really comes into play for skiers is if I run out of flexion before I'm pressing through my boot, one of two things is going to happen. The first is my heel will lift inside my ski boot, which we don't want to happen. We want that good heel grip setting of the heel in the boot. That could happen. Or the second thing is I'll just run out of flexion. I won't be able to put pressure through the front of my ski. And I have seen where people run out of this range of motion, they'll end up hinging forward at the hip to try and get themselves forward when they don't have that joint helping them out. So actually, when I was a very, very young skier, I had a coach tell me that I skied like a praying mantis. And what he meant was I actually had this hinged over skiing position. I was trying to get low. I was trying to throw my weight forward. And I actually had a restriction in my ankle dorsiflexion, or being able to close this ankle joint. And so instead, I hinged at the hip. Now, what really helped me was getting in the gym and working on that. My coach could have told me all day, all week, all year to stop bending forward, and it wouldn't have helped because I didn't actually have the physical ability to perform that skill. And that's super important when coaches are working, or instructors are working with folks on hill, is to think about how does the person's personal biomechanics, how does the way their body's built, or their current flexibility and range of motion, how's that affecting the way that they're skiing? I digress. If we work on getting more ability to flex through the ankle, and we work on the strength of the tibialis anterior, that can help us get forward at the beginning of the turn. And I went really into a rabbit hole there. Now, I have heard from boot fitters. I was talking with a boot fitter last year when I got a new pair of boots, and he was telling me that if he sees someone come in and they don't have a lot of ankle flexion, his response is twofold. The first thing he does is he'll put them in a stiffer, more upright boot. And so the effect that might have is that a person will end up at the end of that season, after having spent so many days in boots, they might actually end up with even less ability to dorsiflex, so even tighter calves. And they'll be able to pressure the front of the boot, which is great for their skiing. The second thing that he told me sometimes they'll do is actually build up the heel of the boot, put a heel lift in. And there's a couple consequences for that when we're skiing on snow. I won't dive into that today because I'm already 13 minutes into the live that was only supposed to be 10 minutes. But I will say that over time, that can also lead to us having further shortening through those muscles. So take a think about that. And the one thing you can do now is remember that in a matter of weeks, you can have a stronger tibialis anterior, so you can make that muscle in the front of your shin stronger. You can also have more length through the muscles of your calves or lower leg, the back of your lower leg and foot, and that's going to help you get into that flexed position. So I went big into that, but let's briefly talk about the muscles inside the foot. So we're talking about muscles that come from the lower leg and act on the foot, but there's also muscles inside your foot, which is really cool. Tiny little ones. And I like to think of them as like the fine tuning instruments. So that's why tiny movements in the foot mean I don't have to make massive movements up the chain when I'm skiing. The one thing I was talking with one client about this year was the idea that when he was looking for stability, he would eagle claw. And I loved that word. I've heard it called over gripping or toe scrunching, but eagle claw, that's a way better visual. He would eagle claw in his boots to find stability. And for him, we started working on, or I helped him continue to work on, to be honest, glute activation to help with external rotation, and also his ability to maintain the arch of his foot when he was balancing on one foot. And that is going to help him when ski season comes, because our foot has the ability to push straight down, or we can eagle claw. When we eagle claw, if you think of this as my foot, I'm actually taking pressure off of the ball of the foot when I eagle claw. And what eagle claw ends up doing is sending our weight into the back seat while we're skiing. So instead of being in this position where we can cut into the snow, dive into the snow, really start the turn solid, we are actively pushing ourselves backward, doing the opposite of what the tibialis anterior can help us do if we're using our toes like this. And often there's a very easy test you can do. If you want to put a business card or credit card underneath the ball of your foot, try to scrunch your toes and keep pressure. Make it so that you can't pull the card out, and likely you'll struggle doing that. If you have great foot control, you should be able to push straight down and keep that credit card or business card trapped as you try and press it out. Another really quick thing I do with folks to see if they've got that intrinsic muscles controlled and strong. So we should be able to lift our big toe separate from lifting our little toes and then switch. And if we can do that, it shows that we have control over the separate parts of the foot individually, as opposed to it being all or nothing of our foot acting inside our ski boot. So I want you to give that a try. And if you can't do that, keep trying every day for a few weeks, and you should be able to get there eventually. I think the longest, I've had a client who it took 3 months of dedicated practice before she could use her big toe separate from her little toes. It's different for every person. You're going to be trying and trying and trying without it working. And then all of a sudden one day it's going to work and you're going to have control over your feet again. So I've been going for too long. I'm going to try and wrap this up in the next 3 minutes. So if you have any questions about feet and skiing, please pop them in the chat in the next 3 minutes. Otherwise, I'm going to move into some actionable steps. So what we can do to improve the function of our lower leg and our foot. First, we can work on the length of our calves, and that can come from very simple calf stretching. You want to stretch those calves in a bent leg and a straight leg position so that we're hitting different muscles within the calf group. And if you accumulate stretching in those muscles, up to about 10 minutes per muscle per week, then you're going to see progress if you stick with it. So that's the first thing. You could also do those stretches and activations before you do your workout, and that's going to get you into a place where you can access that flexion before you do your other exercises. The other thing you can do is start to work on foot strength. I think I have a video on this channel, if you're not working with me yet, where you can try this for yourself. You can try doing some foot strength moves, and just by starting to connect your brain to those muscles, you will have better balance on snow. Oh yeah, that was a study that I wanted to mention. There's been some studies done in the arena of balance and toe strength, and they have found a correlation between stronger toes and a lower risk of falls in older adults. So the research is there. People are looking at feet for research, and they're finding that if we work on this strength, we get balance increases, we get that better touch with the snow. I guess that one hasn't been studied yet, but I would love to be a part of that study if a university puts it on. So yeah, work on your foot strength, work on the mobility of your calf muscles. And if you start now, by the time the resorts are open here in North America, you should have some noticeable differences to the way you're skiing on snow. The last thing I will mention is that we can give a simple workout to our feet simply by spending some time not in shoes, if we wear shoes a lot, or spending a time in different shoes. And when you get out of your ski boots, I only have 20 seconds left here, but this is my PSA. When you get out of ski boots, at the end of each day skiing, do a little bit of calf stretch do a little bit of foot strength, and I promise you it's going to help your next day on snow. Now, I'm going to sign off now. If you have any other questions or comments about your skiing or how working on your feet has helped you on snow, I am going to be monitoring the comments here on the replay of the live chat for the weekend. So put that in the comment and I would love to respond to you. And I just am so appreciative of everyone who's on watching now, everyone who's in our ski program. This first cohort has been so fun to meet, so fun to talk to. And if you want to be a part of our second cohort, we have our 8-week fitness program for skiing starting up November 3rd. So either shoot a comment or check the link in the description below. You can sign up for that and we can work together towards you having the best ski season yet. All right. Thank you so much, you guys. I hope you have a wilder day and we'll talk to you soon.